Imagine the shock, a cold splash of reality when the other woman calls you. That's how I learned about the true cost of our stolen moments. Beth's voice, his wife's voice, was a serrated blade through the fabric of our affair. She knew. Oh, she knew everything, and in her knowing, I saw the reflection of my own folly. This chapter is the unravelling, the raw, messy confrontation of a dream turning into a nightmare. I was to meet her, face the scorn of a woman betrayed, and in doing so, gaze into the mirror of my own betrayal. It was the end of the illusion, the dissolution of the mirage, and the harsh light of truth was about to dawn. Chapter 2. Caught in a love lie, his wife's revenge on our steamy affair. You know, there's a kind of silence that falls when the last piece of a puzzle slots into place. It's not peaceful, it's heavy, loaded with the weight of reality that you've been dodging like raindrops in a storm. That's the silence I was wrapped in, sitting there in my kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator suddenly sounding like a roar in my ears after Beth's call. I'd hung up the phone, but her words were still buzzing in my head, a swarm of bees I couldn't quiet. "You didn't know?" she had asked, her voice a cocktail of anger and satisfaction. "Well, now you do." And just like that, she'd painted my world in stark black and white, the colours of our affair bleeding away to nothing. I thought of Michael, of us, and felt the sting of tears, not just for what we'd had, but for what I'd been to him. A diversion, a plaything, someone to while away the time with while his real life, his wife and children waited just out of sight. How had I let myself become that woman, the other woman? I think back to the woman I was before him, the one who had principles, who would have turned her nose up at someone like me now. Michael had said all the right things, pushed all the right buttons. But that's what con artists do, isn't it? They find your weaknesses, and they exploit them. But it wasn't just about him and me. There were kids involved, kids who didn't ask for any of this. And Beth, she was a force to be reckoned with. Her next call wasn't just a call, it was a battle cry. She wanted to meet, face to face, woman to woman, not to sling mud, though God knows we both had our share to throw, but to... What? What could she possibly want from me now? I agreed to meet her, against the better judgment of my friends. "Are you crazy?" they asked. "You owe her nothing." But that wasn't true. I owed her the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as raw and as painful as it would be. So there I was, waiting at a park bench, the kind of place where you'd expect to see children playing or old couples walking hand in hand, not the kind of place for clandestine meetings and sordid tales. But life has a funny way of upending expectations. Beth was punctual, a quality I couldn't help but respect. She walked up to me, no tears, no drama, just a woman with a purpose. She sat down, and we talked. It wasn't the conversation I expected. There was no screaming, no accusations. Just the quiet, devastating recounting of two lives intertwined with a man who was a master of deception. The sun began to set, and the park started to empty, the day's laughter fading into the twilight. Beth stood up to leave, but not before she handed me an envelope. "I thought you should see these," she said, "before you make up your mind about what kind of man he really is." I watched her go, her figure becoming just a shadow in the fading light, and there in my hands I held the weight of her world, the proof of Michael's betrayal. Photos, letters, a veritable museum of a life built on lies. It was my turn now, my move in this chess game I never wanted to play. As I walked home, the envelope heavy in my bag, I knew what I had to do. I had to end it with Michael, cut the last string that tied us together. But it wouldn't be easy. Love, even a love built on lies, has a way of digging its roots deep into your heart. And as I turned the key in my lock, stepping into the silence of my own making, I wondered, would I be strong enough to say goodbye? Or would I be swept up in the storm of him once more?